Welcome back guys. In this video, we are going to discuss the requirements of the clause 7.1 which is related to the resources. Once you have identified the requirements in clause 6 that are necessary to maintain and continually improve the occupational health and safety system of your organization, now you need resources to implement that system. These resources are not limited to human capital only. These may also include equipment, tools, buildings, finance, and other technological requirements. It goes without saying that commitment from top management is crucial in this stage of providing resources in order to maintain safe and healthy work environment. Top management will also need to keep in mind that the risks and opportunities identified in Clause 6 for effective allocation of resources. Because once the hazards are kept in mind, it will become much easier for us to identify which resources are needed to tackle those risks and opportunities. Welcome back guys. In this video we are going to discuss about clause number 7.2 which is related to competence of your staff. This clause requires that the organization must provide necessary skills and knowledge to all the workers so as to enable them identify workplace hazards and risks and also take necessary measures to prevent themselves from workplace injuries. This ability of identifying hazards and risks can be obtained from trainings, educations, and related and relevant experience. Some important considerations while evaluating the competence are my employees capable to perform their assigned job? Are they aware of the occupational health and safety risk associated with their job? Are they aware of any sort of legal requirements related to their job? And what are their individual capabilities, including cultural diversity and experience? No matter what the size of the organization is, it needs to maintain documented information as evidence of competence. It can be developed in terms of a training matrix and an attendance record where workers sign after completion of a training or any other educational program. So basically, we have learned two things here. Number one, how you are going to provide information regarding identification of hazards and risk to your employees, which will be through trainings, educations, and other seminars. And second thing which we have learned in this video is how you are going to evaluate are your employees competent enough to perform their desired job. In this video, we are going to discuss about clause number 7.3, which is related to awareness. First and foremost thing for a worker to consider is to understand the organization's occupational health and safety policy and requirements to protect himself from workplace hazards. Then come the responsibility of each worker to protect other workers as well. This can be done or this can be achieved through awareness of occupational health and safety system for both internal and external workers. Awareness trainings must start before commencement of any work, and this may include awareness about occupational health and safety policy, implications of non-adherence to occupational health and safety rules, hazards associated with each activity and location, means to report near miss and other accidents. Work instructions, outcomes of investigations. Clause 7.4 deals with the communication. For a successful implementation of this standard, it is mandatory for top management to develop communication channels which will identify these things. What will be communicated? For example, you can communicate occupational health and safety policy, workplace hazards, site specific instructions, supervisory structures, results of risk assessments and investigations to different people. When will be the communication occurs? Like quarterly, biannually, or during induction. Who will be communicated? Like workers, contractors, or subcontractors, etc. How will it be communicated? Like through emails, notice boards, newsletters, etc. Look, it is important to realize that not every information needs to be delivered to everyone. Therefore, it is important to identify different levels of communication as well. Gender, cultural diversity, language, and any sort of disability must be considered before developing communication channels. Welcome back, guys. We are now moving towards the last clause of this section, which is 7.4, and it is all about documented information. Change is the only constant thing in this world. Our procedures changes, new tools, equipments are introduced, revisions are made. Therefore, it is necessary to deliver updated information to all the workers all the time. So it is essential to have a robust yet simple system of documents control. Key questions here to ask are: has the organization determined what are important information and documents that are essential for OH&S system? Has the identification and description is made? For example, title, date, author, or reference number? Is it available and suitable for use where and when it is needed? Is it adequately protected? For example, from loss of confidentiality, improper usage, or loss of integrity? What about its storage and preservation, including preservation of legibility? So these are some important questions that need to be discussed and need to be kept in mind while implementing this clause of documented information. These are very important questions to consider before moving forward, as they play an important role in implementation of successful ISO 45001 standard. So far in this section, we have covered what support is needed in effective implementation of occupational health and safety objectives as planned to achieve continual improvement. This section has given details in terms of what resources are needed, competence and awareness which is required, the communication channels need to be developed, and how we are going to achieve control of documented information. In the next section, we will try to understand about the do part of PDCA cycle, that is clause 8, which is related to operations.